so welcome back to Leftfoot TV. So today we are just going to bang the front end back on. We're going to put the drive shafts in and basically do the coilovers. We'll probably skip through all the bits with the drive shafts and stuff, and then we'll pick the video up when we're doing the coilovers and show you how to fit the coilover. Just goes on the bottom of the spring, and then I can do the height. Sweet, should get the fronts on, and then we'll do backs.
Let's go.
Yeah. So yesterday I was here with Alex and Dunk, and they both managed to get the front end back together for me. So that is one job done. I started on the brakes, and we hit one problem, which was the fucking idiots that I bought the brakes off sent me the wrong discs and pads. So we've had to stick the old discs and pads on. But I did get all the brakes back together with the old discs and pads, which put me in a pretty bad mood to begin with, because there is only actually one option of discs and pads for this car. So the fact that they got it wrong is a bit fucking annoying. And then I started working on the coilovers. So we started putting the coilovers together, and then the coilovers wouldn't fit. Basically these holes on the coilovers, just wouldn't line up for some reason. They're only like a millimeter out, but I didn't have anything yesterday that I could make the hole wider with, neatly. So I've just gone and got a file to do that today. But I got to that point and I basically just fucking rage quit, because you expect 800 quid coilovers just to fit without you having to do any modification to them. So I got to that point and basically fucking rage quit. It pissed me off. So I am back today. Unfortunately I'm on my own today, so we'll get it all back together and get these fucking coilovers on. And so basically what I want to do today is get the coilovers on, I'm going to take all the wheels off, get it on 4-axle stands ready to bleed the brakes. So I've got nobody to bleed the brakes with me today, so I'm just going to have to leave it on axle stands, and then we'll come next time when I've got somebody with me, quickly bleed the brakes, and then we can take it out for a test drive. I'm going to, once I've got all the suspension on and stuff, run the engine for a while, make sure we've got no leaks and things like that. But yeah, we are actually getting closer to it being finished and back on the road again. So that is one good thing. I have calmed down slightly since yesterday, so hopefully we can get these coilovers on without me losing my shit. But yeah, let's get to it. So after all of that, I finally got it in. A bit of a pain in the arse, but it wasn't that bad now that I've got the proper tools. Yesterday it just got the better of me, and I just properly flipped and lost my shit, basically. I'll flip the camera around and show you. So to fit these coilovers, it's usually very, very easy. So you've just got 2 nuts on the top. So when you're taking the standard shocks out, we did show it in one of the previous videos, but basically just a nut here and here, that drops the top out, and then you've got a nut and a bolt here, and then just disconnect your ABS line and your brake pipe, which is just a pop, like a little clip that you just prise out, and then that comes out. But basically, and then it just all goes back in reverse order. So it's pretty straightforward. I've just put the coilovers in at the preset height, and then we'll maybe adjust them depending on how it sits. But for now, it's fine. So these are the coilovers, and basically the problem I'm having is this bottom bolt is just a nightmare to get in. So it's like the holes slightly too high. So what I've been doing is getting the file and just filing that edge of the hole just to bring it down a little bit on both sides. You better, if you have this issue, you're better off not touching that one, because you can see it's slightly slotted. The reason is that so you can move the hub in and out slightly just to adjust the camber. So that's another side all back together. So yeah, nice and easy to put on when they fit right. So yeah, that's both front coilovers on. Just set at the preset. I've wound the stiffness all the way to soft, and then I can just kind of wind it up a little bit at a time until I get it to a point that I'm happy with. Yeah, on these the adjustment is on the top, so yeah, wind it all the way that way for soft, and then we'll go from there and just work with it and figure out a setting that we like once we get it back on its wheels. But yeah, that's the front. I'm going to jack the back end up now, and we'll make a start on the back. So I've got the wheels off. Obviously I'm changing the discs and pads as well, so that's why there's no discs and pads. I've just taken them off. Discs are absolutely goose. Pads are pretty much shot as well. So I've got new discs and pads. I know the pads are definitely right because I've already checked them, but I'm not sure about the discs yet. So I will have to check them in a second. But yeah, so we're going to change the suspension on the back for coilovers. So if you've watched any of the previous videos, it had gas adjustable coilovers on the front. So when I saw them on the front, I assumed they'd be on the back as well, but they're not. And somebody has just chopped the springs, and it's still got standard suspension on the back, which is slightly irritating, because if it had had the gas shocks all the way around, I wouldn't have had to buy the BCs. But yeah, it's got cut springs on the back with standard shocks, and it rides like absolute shit. So that was why I had to buy the BCs for it, so that I could get good ride quality again. But yeah, somebody's cut the springs, so normally you'd have to drop the shocks off before you can get the springs out, but because the springs are cut, it probably will actually just squeeze past there. So yeah, spring just, well, didn't fall out. It actually fell out the other side. This one was a little bit tighter, but yeah, spring came out without me having to drop the shocks off. If you've got standard springs in, you'll definitely have to drop the shocks off beforehand. So yeah, let's go and get the shocks off, which are, this is the standard shock, and then I think there is a bolt, where are we at? Here, at the bottom of the shock. It just goes right through. I think it's on a captive nut on the other side, if I'm, well, it might not be. Yeah, I think it is a captive nut. So yeah, shock bolt here, and then they bolt a bit further up as well from the inside. Normally on shocks they go through into the inside of the car, but on these they don't. So yeah, there is another bolt at the top, well, nut at the top here, so that needs to come off. I'm going to spray plenty of WD-40 on that, because obviously it's going to be a little bit crusty. So yeah, get some WD-40 on all the bolts. Been made a start. I got the top of the shock off, but unfortunately I cannot get the bottom bolt out, and the reason is basically what happens with these is the bolt's loose. So it's turning but not coming out, and what happens is the sleeve inside this bush basically it has seized to the bolt, so when I'm turning the bolt, it's turning the sleeve inside and stopping it from coming out. There is really not any way, there's no way around it really, other than cutting the nut and the bolt off either end so that I can get the shock out. So I've got a cut on the inside here, and then the inside there, and then also cut the captive nut off this side, just so I can get it out, and then it'll, yeah, the shock will come out, and yeah, I'll be able to pull the end of the bolt out, pull the captive nut off the side, and then because I've cut on the inside, this should just slot out of there. I know exactly what's gone wrong with it, because exactly the same thing happens on old Hondas, like on the EGs and the EKs. The bottom shock bolts get stuck in the bush, basically just turns with the bolt and it stops it from coming out. So yeah, I'm going to have to cut that bottom shock off, which is a bit irritating, but it's not a major deal. So I've got the shock out now, as you can see. Basically, what I've done is, let's a bit bright that light. Cut the end off there, cut the captive nut off this side, and then I cut on the inside of here and the inside of there. Basically that let me pull that out, and what's happening is the bolt is seized inside this metal dowel, which is meant to be the inside of the bush, but because it's seized in there, it's spinning and it's ripped it away from the rubber bush on the outside, and basically it just means that it can't come out because of the dowel is bigger than the hole. So that's basically what you have to do. It seems to have done exactly the same on the other side, so I'd imagine it's probably a pretty common problem. So if you're ever struggling with that, then that's probably what you're going to have to do to get it off. Not the end of the world, but we'll just have to find a nut and bolt to go through it. Luckily we've got another car over there, so hopefully we can find something off that car that'll fit this. So yeah, I'll get the other side off and then we'll start chucking the coilovers on. So there is a little bit of a knack to getting these springs in. So first you want to take off the old rubber top mount. Take that old rubber mount out, you don't need that anymore. This new spring comes with a rubber piece, so it's really hard to push it all on in one piece. You can see it stops about halfway up, but if you just put the bush in first, it's a lot easier. So yeah, push the bush up to the top, and then your adjuster can push up onto that. You've got a bush on the bottom of the collars as well, so just make sure that doesn't drop off, but that pushes up. Yeah, so that's on. That pushes up a lot more easily if you put the bush on first. So yeah, that is on, and then you've got your spring, which, like I mentioned before, the flat side goes to the top, and then there is a little indentation here where the end of the spring sits. There's a little notch, so just stick that in with the end of the spring sat in that little notch, and that basically just stops the spring from turning around. So yeah, now you've got it like that, what we want to do is basically jack the back axle up and guide the top of the spring into the adjusters, so it sits there, and then we can get the shocks on. So I've got the shock in, and yeah, I've just left it loose because it makes it easier to swing about and line up with this bottom bolt when we get to it. So yeah, just put the bolt through, nut on the end, just finger tight, and yeah, it just means you've got plenty of movement to move around in. I found some replacement bolts for the bottom, so these are the bolts off the front suspension, off the forks. Obviously we've got a spare car, so I took them off that one. They fit perfectly in, so if you need some bolts to go through, front suspension fork bolts work perfectly. So I'm going to use those. I'm just going to put some copper grease on them now before I put them in, because obviously I don't want them to seize in again. I've greased up the threads on the coilovers inside the body as well. So yeah, just makes it easier to adjust them later on if I need to adjust them at any point. So yeah, grease these up, and then we'll jack it up and line everything up and slide the bolts through, and then we can tighten everything back up and get it all back together. So we're all back together on the suspension. Yeah, everything's back on as it should be. Got the bottom bolt through. Those front suspension bolts worked an absolute treat. They were like pretty much the perfect length. So one last thing to do is fit this Gizfab adjustable panhard bar. And basically the reason behind that is with these rear beam axle setups, you run the axle. So this bit here is the main axle. Sorry, it's a bit dark, and then this bar here is the trailing arm, and basically both, the whole axle swings on that trailing arm. So obviously when it's higher, it moves the whole axle that way. So when you're lowering it, basically the whole axle is shifting to one side. So what this adjustable bar lets us do is pull the axle back center at its resting height. And it just makes the car handle a lot better because you're not tramping down the road with the wheels like to one side. So yeah, we're going to get that on now. There's just a nut and bolt nut on that side and a nut and bolt on this side, I think. So we're going to get that off now and then chuck this one back on. And basically all you do is keep these two sides locked in place, and then you just turn this nut and it'll either lengthen it or shorten it. So I'll try and explain it a little bit better, but basically I've got hold of both of the grey ends now so that they can't move anywhere. If you turn it this way, oh, it's moving, give me a sec. Turn it one way, it'll make it longer, which I think is what it's doing now. Yeah, you can, sorry, I'm trying to do this with two hands, but I need 10. You can see it's made it longer, and if I go the other way, made it shorter. So basically you just have to keep both the grey ends in place, and then just turn that centre nut, and then when you've got it where you want, just lock these two nuts. I need a big spanner for that, but the grey nuts at the end, just tighten them so that they're tight up against the body of the grey, and that'll just stop the thread from moving anywhere. So we're all back together. I've just got to quickly chuck the wheels on. Sarah came with me tonight and helped me bleed the brakes, which was the final thing that I needed to do, and I couldn't do it on my own. So shout out to Sarah, say hi. Hi. She's running off. So yeah, it's pretty late at night. We've got it finished. I'm going to get it back on its wheels, make sure it runs all right for a bit, maybe just take it for a quick test drive, and then tomorrow we're going to take it on its maiden voyage to a car show, and hopefully it doesn't break down before we get there. But yeah, we're going to go to a car show tomorrow. So we are in the first outing in the Ignis since we've put it all back together. It's alive. So yeah, it works, and it needs a few things finishing off. So we had a few little issues. We got like a little bit of a flat spot after 2000 RPM, which I'm not sure what that is causing that yet. And then I got in a bit of a stress when the coilovers wouldn't fit. Tightened up the... Used your angry man strength. Yeah, tightened up the bolt, and it kinked the hub and the shock, the bottom of the shock, and it basically ripped the drive shaft out, and I think I've torn the seal a little bit, so we're leaking a little bit of gearbox oil. I did everything perfectly. Yeah, I did nothing. The unqualified one did everything perfectly. But yeah, today we're just taking it out for its first drive. I drove it to work this morning just to make sure it was going to be okay. But yeah, this is like the first time we've actually gone anywhere worth going to in it. So, but to be fair, it's probably the first car meet for us both in nearly 2 years. Yeah, ages. Because COVID. Yeah, so we're going to the car meet at Ray, which is just outside of Lancaster. It's super under the radar, this meet. Like, I always miss it, but there's always like a really good turnout, and there's like a good variety of everything. Like, it's just like, yeah, all makes, all models, and it's always really cool, especially on a night like this. It's super sunny, so it should be good.
Get some good footage, hopefully.
Yeah.
See what it's about.
We went to the meet. It was awesome, actually.
It was
there
actually.
Some really sick cars.
It was, I think, better being there at a quieter time.
Yeah.
Because it meant that we could actually get around the cars more, take some more photos, actually speak to some people.
Yeah.
Which was really nice.
Yeah, it was cool because it's a weird meet, isn't it? Because it starts at like 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of classics, a lot of retro things there.
Yeah, but it's always cool because I like going there because there's like a variety of everything.
Yeah, there was American muscle, there was old European stuff.
Yeah. Super cool Volvo.
Oh.
Yeah, Volvo 240 that was like, it was like brand new, wasn't it?
It was properly mint.
Yeah.
I have an obsession with Volvos.
Yeah.
I have a V50. I probably want a C30. I really like the old ones, like the 850.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Ignis is sorted. We've been to the meet, but we just brought the Ignis back to the unit because it's leaking gearbox oil from the drive shaft seal.
Because somebody got angry at it.
Yeah. So I had a mini little rage the day that we were putting the coilovers on because they sent the wrong brake pads, wrong discs.
Yeah.
The coilovers wouldn't fit because the holes were drilled in the wrong place.
Basically, all the new parts that you bought.
All the new parts that I bought.
Everything that was old or pre-owned or everything went on easy, but the new parts all fucked up.
Yeah, so I had a mini rage and then just tightened up the bolt on the coilover anyway, even though it didn't really fit, and it just like kinked the whole thing somehow. I don't even know how it happened.
Yeah.
And it just like yanked the drive shaft out, so it broke the clip on the drive shaft. And me being stupid and just trying to rush to get the car back on the road, I didn't check the seal, and I think it's ripped the seal. So we've got some new seals coming tomorrow, but then once the seals are in, it should be good to go. It seems to be driving all right. We've got a little bit of a flat spot after like 2,000 RPM.
Could be coil pack.
I think it might be a coil pack or something like that. So,
but overall, it's been a success.
Yeah. So.
For my first engine swap, it's been alright.
Yeah, honestly, you've done really well to get that in there without any problem. Because
thank you, senpai.
like you haven't actually done that much mechanical stuff, really, have you?
No, I've done the odd bits to my car. I mean, we did our coilovers on my car. I switched out the.
But like, I didn't really have to tell you what to do at any point, really.
I watched a lot of videos.
Yeah.
I watched Leadfoot TV. Yeah.
So yeah, we've got it all back together. It's all running all right. So it is. What day are we on today? Thursday.
Thursday.
So it's Thursday. Next a week today is going to get the four-wheel alignment done. So we're going to get the whole car corner weighted and get the coilovers set up properly, so that it doesn't sit like it's trying to eat grass off the floor. And then
we'll get those gearbox seals changed. Probably. When are they arriving?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So yeah.
Probably do that one evening next week.
Yeah, and then then we should be sorted. And then the Saturday after, we are going to go do some track time at Three Sisters in it. So that'll be fun.
Which will also be my first time on track.
First time on track.
I am a petrol head.
In a car that's not yours.
Yeah. I have a car that I've pretty much built specifically for going on track that I've never tracked yet.
Yeah.
And I'll be borrowing yours.
Yeah. But yeah, at least you're getting practice in something with a little less power.
Yeah, at least I won't be like tempting to wreck my 330 brake.
Because it's 300 horsepower rear wheel drive car's probably not the car to do your first track in.
Don't get me wrong, I can drive it in anger when I want to, but I don't want to risk it just yet.
You've still got a lot
I
of
will.
money in it.
I will. It owes me a lot. So.
Yeah. Sweet. So yeah, that's the Ignis. We'll catch next video will probably be the track day. So we'll catch up with you then. I probably won't bother filming the alignment and stuff because it won't be all that interesting. So yeah, we'll catch up with you on the track day at Three Sisters. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.